on the channel, we review Zabu from the Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure wave, and we rank the entire wave from my least favorite to my favorite.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure review, plus, in the back half, bonus set rankings, and today, we're taking a look at the Zabu Build-A-Figure. But for all your Zabu Build-A-Figure needs and a whole lot more, hit up DJC Collectibles, use 8 off DJC to save 8% off your entire order. Gotta get a deal out there, and of course, we're going to do this review like we do all these Build-A-Figure reviews. We're going to take a look at the Build-A-Figure, run him through his paces, then in the back half of this video, including the Build-A-Figure, we're going to rank the entire wave from my least favorite to my favorite, so stick around for that one, as we usually do. But let's dive into Zabu here, the Build-A-Figure, and you know me, I'm a sucker for a Build-A-Figure. Love Build-A-Figures in all the different waves, and I honestly think these companies aren't making the most of money they possibly could, because I think they could do more Build-A-Figures, and it would convince a lot of collectors to buy figures maybe they necessarily weren't going to get, just to get the Build-A-Figure pieces. I don't know. I think there's a lot of companies leaving money on the table about that one. To each their own, though, with the old business hat talk that we usually do here. But I love an animal. I love a hairy bipedal creature. I love a Zabu. I do not have the former edition of Zabu or Kazar, and Kazar, of course, in this line. Good to have these guys together once again in the same series. But this is a needed figure here for our collections. And we all want to go to the Savage Land. Absolutely beautiful this time of year. I swear, you go to the Savage Land, you're going to see sights and hear some sounds you've never heard before. So shout out to the old Savage Land out there. But Zabu fitting right in there. Of course, a saber-toothed tiger, just like our friend from the X-Men, Sabretooth. We all know him. Have we ever seen those two together? I don't know if we ever have. They could be the same person. Who knows? I'll fact check that, get Jesse Ventura on the case on that one down the road, possibly here. But let's dive into the old Zabu Build-A-Figure here. And let's start on the head right here. So right off the bat, I know this is a saber-toothed tiger. He's got those big old teeth up front, got those gnarly pink, I guess, around the tongue and around the gums, really showing that he's flared up, he's ready to go. He's ready to take on the world like a young man of war is what he's ready to do, but he does got a hinged jaw, which is key to something like this. Love the hinge on the jaw there, looking very, very cool. Very, very nice. Green piercing eyes, and of course the yellow, I almost said skin, yellow fur throughout the whole body on Zabu here, looking really good. Build-A-Figure went together pretty easy, had to kind of force these arms in pretty good, but they all did go in eventually. You do get the side-to-side, the head sculpt on that one. You do get a little movement up and down, very little, but you do get side-to-side right out of the kind of neck on him right there. You do get the middle section that does move back and forth, and then you do get the legs that go back and forth. You do get a bend at the knee. You do get no side-to-side there, but a bend, and then you get a bend at the lower knee, sure, whatever, and then the paw does have articulation as well, and all 4 hands and feet are going to be the same thing, and then the tail even has a little bit of articulation right there on the tail, so you can do all kinds of different moves with this guy if you want to. Nothing too wild, obviously. It is a saber-toothed tiger after all, but he does look really, really nice, feels nice, has a nice weight to it as well. Very detailed in the fur, very detailed down to the black claws there. Of course, the black pads on the feet. No fig stands for him. He doesn't got a hole in there or anything like that. But the real main event of this figure is, like I guess most figures you could say, is the face. A lot of personality in the face, especially with the jaw that opens up and down. Gives all kinds of different stuff going on here. But a very cool one, but not a ton to talk about this one. It is almost like an accessory, but it is an animal. It is a second for Kazar, of course. But it does look really, really good, and it kind of looks like a female lion as well. And I'm sure saber-toothed tigers and lions kind of somewhere in the whole thing kind of go together. But definitely a fun one, definitely a cool one, definitely a heftier one than I was anticipating. As we've had some animal Build-A-Figures in the past, and I guess I do have Cosmo right here, a dog. So, of course, Cosmo shouldn't be as big as him. A saber-toothed tiger would be bigger, but you can kind of see the tail of 2 Build-A-Figures. Feel like you get a little bit more money out of this one over this one here, but there's a lot more that goes into it. It's the set size and what accessories the sets have that really deem how big of a Build-A-Figure you're going to get, I guess. but a very interesting comparison here of some animal Build-A-Figures we've had over the last couple of years. And I'm here for this. It almost feels like they're out of ideas for Build-A-Figures, and it feels like we don't get as many Build-A-Figure waves as we used to. That could just be my brain not thinking correctly, and that happens from time to time as well. But I would love to see more Build-A-Figure waves throughout the year, and I'd love to see some more animal Build-A-Figures like this. I think it's a good way to get him in, because I'm sure you're going to sell some Zabus by himself, but I think as a Build-A-Figure wave, this really does seem to work out there. And I guess you got to have Kazar with him as well. You can't have Zabu without Kazar. They go together like peanut butter and jelly, really, at the end of the day. Or like Mark Summers and Todd McFarlane on the couch. Go together just like that. Just, it feels right. It feels right, guys, right? Right, yeah, sure, something like that. But Zabu, looking good. I'm here for this. Is it the greatest Build-A-Figure of all time? No, but it does work for me. I do like what I see right here. So there it is. That's Zabu, the Build-A-Figure. Now, of course, we got to rank the entire wave from my least favorite to my favorite. All right, time for some final thoughts on the Build-A-Figure wave. Of course, the Zabu Build-A-Figure wave here. And this was a fan channel exclusive, which usually means everything but Walmart and Target is really what it means. You can get this at all your Entertainment Earths, Big Bad Toy Stores, DJC Collectibles, probably GameStop as well, local toy stores, you name it. That's where you're going to find this wave here. And a very diverse wave and a pretty fun wave, all things considered. Anytime I get a hairy non-bipedal creature as a Build-A-Figure, I guess that's a good day for me here. So a lot of fun stuff here. We got 8 figures here, some heavy hitter all-timers everybody knows, and some deep cuts. That's a pretty good mix of a wave if you do ask me. And of course, this video, we're going to do it like we do all these other ones. We're going to start with my least favorite, work my way to my favorite. Remember, this is my list. Put your list in the comments down below. But we got 8 figures here, and we're going to kick it off. And we're going to go number 8. Unfortunately for the Red Widow, she is number 8 for me, and I don't know if she'll even stand for me here. She's a delicate one to stand. I might have to end up laying her down. The peg hold does not work on her, unfortunately, with a stand. But we do get the Red Widow here, a character I'm just not familiar with. A cool enough looking character. The problem is very limited range of motion with the cape on there. Hey, I love a cape. Todd McFarlane on the couch, he loves a power move with a high collar. It's just too high of a collar, too much of a cape on this one. Would have worked better as soft goods, probably not into the cards for a customer like Red Widow here. Red Window here, that's what I would say. So a little bit disappointing on this one, but I wouldn't say I had high expectations going into it either. So somebody's got to be number 8. It's going to be the old Widow here. Now we go on to number 7. And number 7, I'm going to go to Icarus. We're going to go Kid Icarus is what we're going to do. An Eternal. Once again, not a character that's really high on my to-do list, not one I'm super looking forward to, and this is one of those characters that I think is better when you have the rest of the Eternals around him. Much like the MCO version, I would say the same thing about this one. Give me more Eternals with him, he will stand out a little bit better, but by himself, just kind of there, just kind of filling out a line is what it feels like for me. So Icarus going to come in hot at number 7. I like the pinless joints, like a lot about it. It's just not a character and a figure that I really connect with. But good for what it is. That's what we'll say. Now we're down to number 6 right here. Number 6. Oh my gosh, it's a tough one. Yeah, I'm going to go Superior Iron Man, which is cool. We get a villainous Tony Stark. We need a little mix-up. We get so many Iron Men all the time. It's nice to have something that feels a little bit different. But at the end of the day, it is just kind of what it is. Number 6 for me, kind of somewhere in the middle a little bit there. A little upper middle, I guess what we'll call it. So that's 6. Now we got 5 left. Oh my gosh, where do we go from there? Boy, it gets kind of tough though. It's not, nobody really stands out here for me. But I'm going to go to Winter Thor is where I'm going to go next. A good looking one, an interesting one. Once again, a character I'm not super familiar with, but a cool yin and yang from the one we compared to in the video where we unboxed him. Oh, and there he goes. Another heavy figure taking a little tumble. Got that heavy hair. Oh my gosh, not the Red Widow too. What is going on here? But not one I ever heard of. Never heard of this version of Thor, but he does look pretty good. He is a cool-looking figure, but sometimes being a cool-looking figure just isn't enough, and got a little help there from her friend Icarus. But it is cool. It definitely stands out. It's one to catch your eye on a shelf. So all in all, a very fun and a very cool figure here. But now we're down to the final 4, and man, this is where things get pretty tough for me. 4 characters, I don't mind. Cable, one of my all-time favorites, so I knew he'd be high on this list. But these ones over here were must-haves. Not top favorites of mine, but ones I needed in my collection. So it's fun to have these after a long time. But I'm going to go Feral at number 3. 4. Number 4. I can learn to count. Farrell's going number 4. Need her for that X Factor shelf. There's no doubt about it. A small figure, but a hairy bipedal creature, and they usually run away with my heart. That's what Farrell did right here. Happy to have her on the X Factor shelf going forward. Just as cards comparison to some of the other ones, she's coming in at number 4 for me. But now we're down to the final 3. I think, and this might surprise people because I think this will be the top spot for a lot of people. I'm going to go Cable at number 3. I, of course, had the Toy Biz version of this way back in the day when I was a little kid. I always enjoyed Cable. I enjoyed any kind of Cable. However, this is not my favorite Cable attire. It's good to get Cable back out there, especially with the X-Men animated series going on right now. But I would love to see them run back some of the other Cables from years past, especially the X-Force Prime, X-Force number 1 Cable. I would love to see that reran, updated with all the usual articulation, things like that. I think that would be a good one. Good placeholder currently here. Put this with your X-Men. That works out. Have to imagine, and we've seen that in popularity. This is going to be the most popular here for most people. But for me, coming in at number 3, which brings us down to the final 2. And we're going straight to the Savage Land for the final 2 with Kazar and Zabu. And once again, I'm going to go Kazar and Zabu. If I could say it was a tie, I'd say it was a tie. But I'll put Zabu just a hair ahead because of it feels so different. It almost feels like a vehicle, which it is an animal, I guess. And I guess he could ride it if he wanted to. I'm sure Zabu would say, all right, I don't really like it, but if you really want to ride, I'll do it for you. I'm sure that's what she'd say to Kazar. But Kazar, Zabu, 2 I missed out way back in the day. Happy to have now. If you're a fan of the X-Men, you're a fan of the X-Men animated series back in the day, these 2 are very reminiscent, of course, from the Savage Land episodes. Have them squaring off against Sauron. All kinds of stuff you could do with these 2. And I'm just finally happy we got these in a Marvel Legends wave. It feels like they were a needed update for a long time. I wouldn't say they're A+ characters, but if you were a kid of the 90s, you were collecting the toys, watching the animated series, and even the comic books, these were 2 that really stood out to you. And something about an animal as a Build-A-Figure is pretty cool, especially when it's got a good size and weight to it like Zabu has right here. So not a bad wave all in all. A little bit of this, you get some X-Men, you get some Savage Land, little X Factor, a little bit of for the Thor fans, a little bit for the Iron Man fans, and then some deep cut stuff for you Eternal fans out there, and of course the Black Widow fans, and the Winter Guard fans. Don't forget the Winter Guard as well. So a little bit of everything in here for everyone, I would say, but I can see a lot of people saying, well, I want this, I want the Cable, but I don't want this. I want the Savage Land characters, don't want this. I can understand that as well. And that's where the Build-A-Figure really comes into part, making people buy stuff maybe they didn't want to get those pieces. So an interesting set if there ever was one, a fan channel exclusive. You guys know where to look for these if you are looking for them. So be on the lookout. That's what I'll say. But what is your rankings looking like? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the old notification bells. We got videos every single day and then some. We got even more content for you, of course, over on Patreon. Patreon, the best way to support this very YouTube channel and all the content it does bring. You can also support the channel at PersonTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson. Don't forget social media. SirPaul64 on the X, the _Kyle_Peterson on Threads and on Instagram. So for Marvel Legends Zabu Build-A-Figure Wave, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.